This ring, it must belong to you. The words hung in the frozen air as Chloe's trembling hand extended toward the mountain of leather in fury standing before her. Silas's eyes locked onto the gold skull ring, glinting in her palm, the same ring that had cost men their lives to find. His massive hand shot out not to take it, but to grab her wrist, and for one heart-stopping moment, she thought she'd made the worst mistake of her 17 years. Before we dive into what happens next, hit that subscribe button and stick with me until the very end of this story. You won't believe where this goes. And drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from so I can see just how far Chloe's story travels. Trust me, you're going to want to see this through. 48 hours earlier, Chloe Martinez had exactly $17 a backpack with 2 changes of clothes and a promise she'd made to herself. She would rather freeze to death in the Mojave Desert than spend one more night under Roger Hendrix's roof. The Barstow parking lot stretched out like a concrete tundra under the January sky. 2 in the morning, cold that bit through her second-hand jacket like it had teeth. Chloe's breath came out in visible puffs as she huddled against the back wall of a shuttered auto parts store, trying to become invisible, trying to become nothing. She'd been invisible most of her life anyway. What was one more night? The shivering started deep in her bones. She pulled her knees to her chest, wrapped her arms around them, and tried to remember what warmth felt like. Tried not to think about the propane heater in Roger's garage, the one he kept running all winter, while he and his buddies numb. Don't think about that. Don't think about the things Roger made her do, the people who came and went at all hours, the packages she was forced to deliver, the money she wasn't allowed to touch, the threats about what happened to girls who talked. She'd run before twice. Each time the system had dragged her back, and each time Roger's smile had gotten colder. Not this time. This time she had a plan, sort of. Get to Vegas, find work, disappear into the desert sprawl where the system couldn't track her down and deliver her back to hell with a case file and an apology. But Vegas was 150 miles away, and $17 wouldn't even buy her a quarter tank of gas if she had a car, which she didn't. Chloe's stomach cramped with hunger. She'd eaten a gas station burrito 16 hours ago. Before that, nothing for a day and a half. She should move, find somewhere warmer. But where everything was closed. The all-night diner 3 blocks down had an owner who called the cops on loiterers. She'd learned that the hard way during her last escape attempt. Her eyes burned with exhaustion, but she couldn't sleep, couldn't risk it. Roger had connections everywhere, truck drivers, dealers, even cops. He told her that often enough, his breath sour with beer, as he reminded her that running was pointless. A semi roared past on the highway, its running lights cutting through the darkness. Chloe watched it disappear toward Vegas, carrying someone toward, somewhere carrying hope she didn't have. She needed to pee. The thought was mundane, almost laughable given everything else, but her bladder didn't care about her existential crisis. Chloe pushed herself up, legs stiff with cold, and walked around the side of the building. The parking lot was empty except for a few abandoned shopping carts and trash skittering across the asphalt in the wind. She was heading toward the bushes at the far edge of the lot when something caught the light. Something gold. Chloe stopped, squinted. There, half buried in gravel and oil stains, was a ring. She glanced around. Nobody, nothing but the wind and the distant hum of the highway. She shouldn't. It was probably trash. Probably fake. Probably. Her hand reached down before her brain finished the thought. The ring was heavy, solid, real gold if she had to guess, though she'd never actually held real gold before. It was a man's ring, wide and thick, with a skull carved into the face. Intricate details, flames in the eye sockets, some kind of wings or maybe engine parts carved into the sides. And numbers 81. Chloe turned it over in her palm. The inside had an inscription, but it was too dark to read. Her heart started hammering. This was worth money, real money, pawn shop money, food and a motel room money, maybe even a bus ticket money. She closed her fist around it, the metal still cold from the night air. Thank you, she whispered to the universe, to God, to whatever force had dropped this miracle into her path. She shoved the ring deep into her jacket pocket and hurried back to her spot against the wall, mind already racing. She'd wait until morning, find a pawn shop, somewhere that wouldn't ask questions about a teenage girl selling a man's ring. For the first time in days, Chloe let herself feel something other than fear. Hope. Small, fragile, probably stupid, but hope nonetheless. She pulled her jacket tighter and closed her eyes just for a moment, just to rest. The rumble woke her. Not the distant highway rumble she'd gotten used to. This was closer, deeper. Multiple engines, all bass and power shaking the ground. Chloe's eyes snapped open. Dawn was breaking gray light washing over the parking lot. And filling that parking lot were motorcycles. Big ones. Chrome and leather and attitude. Her stomach dropped. 7 bikes, no 8. More pulling in from the street and the men riding them. Chloe had seen bikers before. Roger sometimes dealt with them, but these were different. These wore colors, patches, a uniform of leather vests with a symbol she recognized even from a distance. A death head, wings, letters she couldn't quite make out but didn't need to. Hell's Angels. Every survival instinct in Chloe's body screamed at her to run, but she couldn't move. She pressed herself against the wall, trying to blend into the concrete. The bikes pulled into a rough circle in the center of the parking lot. Engines cut off one by one, leaving a ringing silence that was somehow worse than the noise. Men dismounted, big men, hard men, men who looked like they'd been carved from the same desert rock that surrounded Barstow. Spread out! The voice cut through the morning air like gravel through a grinder. Check everywhere, every goddamn inch. The speaker was the biggest of them all. 60s maybe, but built like he could still break a man in half and not breathe hard doing it. Graybeard, longer gray hair tied back, in a face that looked like it had been on the wrong end of a few fights and the right end of many more. His vest had more patches than the others. And on his hand, Chloe's blood turned to ice. His ring finger was bare, a pale band of skin where something had clearly been. Recently. Silas, man, you sure you lost it here? Another biker, younger with a shaved head and a scar running from his temple to his jaw. I told you, Reaper, I'm not sure of anything. Silas's voice was tight with controlled fury. I had it when we stopped for Gap. Didn't notice it was gone until we hit Victorville. Somewhere between here and there it came off. Could have been anywhere on the highway. Then we searched the highway. Silas cut him off. That ring doesn't leave the family, you understand me? My brother gave me that ring 37 years ago, 2 weeks before he died in a cage in San Quentin. It doesn't. Leave. The family. The weight in Chloe's pocket suddenly felt like an anchor, like a bomb, like the worst possible thing she could be carrying. Her hand went to the ring still tucked deep in her jacket. Leave it, drop it, walk away. But even as her mind screamed the orders, her body wouldn't obey. Because these men were searching everywhere, and if they found her with it, you girl. Chloe's heart stopped. One of the bikers, a lean man with a gray ponytail and eyes like chips of flint, was looking directly at her. Yeah, you get over here. Chloe's legs moved on autopilot, carrying her forward even as her mind shrieked at her to run. She walked toward the circle of bikers, hands shoved in her pockets, one fist clenched around the ring. You've been here all night, Ponytail asked. Yes, I was just sleeping rough. Silas turned his full attention to her, and Chloe felt the weight of it like a physical thing. You see anyone come through here? Any vehicles, anyone on foot? She should tell him, right now, hand it over, and maybe they'd let her walk away. But the memory of Roger's fist slamming into her ribs flashed through her mind. The memory of what happened to girls who trusted the wrong men. The memory of every broken promise and every adult who'd failed her. No, she heard herself say. I didn't see anything. Silas studied her for a long moment. His eyes were pale blue, almost gray, and they didn't miss much. You look cold, he said finally. I'm fine. You look hungry. Chloe said nothing. Reaper, give her some cash. Silas, give her $20. Silas's voice didn't rise, but Reaper immediately pulled out his wallet. Here, kid. He held out a bill. Chloe stared at it. This was wrong, all wrong. She was lying to them, stealing from them, and they were take it. Silas said not unkindly. Get yourself some breakfast and get somewhere warm. Girl your age shouldn't be sleeping in parking lots. The irony almost made her laugh. Almost. She took the 20 with a shaking hand. Thank you. You got family around here? Silas asked. No, I'm just passing through. Another long look. Then Silas nodded. All right. You see anyone finds a gold ring with a skull on it, you call this number. He pulled a card from his vest pocket and handed it to her. There's a reward. Chloe looked at the card. It had a phone number. Nothing else. How much? The question came out before she could stop it. Enough to get you somewhere better than a parking lot. Silas turned back to his men. Keep searching. Check the storm drains, the dumpsters everywhere. Chloe backed away, the ring burning in her pocket, the $20 bill crumpled in her other hand, and Silas's card, a third weight she hadn't asked for. She should run. Right now. Get as far from these men as possible before they figured it out. But her stomach was eating itself, and the smell of coffee from the diner 3 blocks down was making her dizzy. And $20 was $20. She'd eat. Then she'd think. Then she'd figure out what to do with a ring that apparently meant more than money to a Hell's Angel who'd just shown her the first kindness she'd experienced in months. The diner was called Rosie's, and it looked like it hadn't been updated since 1987. Red vinyl booths, checkered floors, a counter with spinning stools that squeaked when you sat on them. Chloe slid into a booth in the back corner, positioning herself where she could see the door. A waitress who looked like she'd been born tired shuffled over. Coffee. Yes, please. And Chloe looked at the menu doing quick math. Eggs, scrambled, and toast. Hash browns. How much? They're included, Hunter. The waitress gave her a look that said she'd seen plenty of hungry kids counting change. You want bacon? I don't. I'll bring you bacon. The waitress walked away before Chloe could protest. The coffee came first, bitter and hot and perfect. Chloe wrapped both hands around the mug and felt the warmth seep into her frozen fingers. Through the window, she could see the parking lot across the street. The bikers were still there, searching methodically through every corner and crevice, looking for the ring in her pocket. She should go back, right now. Tell them she found it after they left. They'd given her $20 and shown her kindness. The least she could do was what? Trust them. Chloe had trusted caseworkers who'd sent her to homes where the parents used the stipend money for drugs. She'd trusted a teacher who'd promised to help and then had done nothing when Chloe told her what was happening at Rogers. She'd trusted a cop who'd brought her right back to Rogers' door with a lecture about wasting police time. Trust was a luxury for people who hadn't learned better. The food arrived and Chloe ate mechanically, barely tasting it. Her mind was spinning through scenarios, each worse than the last. Scenario 1, she pawned the ring, got maybe 2, $300 if she was lucky, used it to get to Vegas, started over. Scenario 2, she returned the ring, the bikers thanked her, maybe gave her the reward Silas mentioned, and she went on her way. Scenario 3, she returned the ring and they accused her of stealing it, or they wanted to know why she lied, or more coffee. Chloe jumped, nearly spilling her cup. The waitress refilled it without waiting for an answer. You okay, hun? Yeah, fine, just tired. Uh-huh. The waitress glanced out the window at the bikers. They give you any trouble? No, they were actually nice. The waitress raised an eyebrow. Angels. Nice. They gave me money for food. Well, the waitress set the coffee pot down. Guess even bikers have their moments. You need anything else? Chloe shook her head. She sat there for another 30 minutes, nursing her coffee, watching through the window as the sun climbed higher and the bikers continued their search. Finally, Silas called them back to the bikes. There was a brief discussion, hands gesturing, heads shaking. They were leaving. Chloe watched them mount up, engines roaring to life. They pulled out in formation, heading north on the highway, toward Vegas, the same direction she needed to go. She pulled the ring from her pocket and set it on the table, studying it in the morning light. The skull grinned up at her. The number 81 seemed to mock her indecision. She turned it over, reading the inscription she couldn't see last night. Forever, little brother. Ride free. Jamie C. Something in her chest twisted. This wasn't just a ring, it was a memory. A connection to someone dead. Someone who'd mattered to a man who'd shown her kindness, despite having every reason not to, and she'd lied to his face. Damn it, Chloe whispered. She flagged down the waitress. The bikers who were across the street, do you know where they were headed? Probably their clubhouse. It's about 15 miles north off Highway 58. Why? Chloe held up the ring. I found this last night. I think it belongs to one of them. The waitress's eyes went wide. You took a Hell's Angel ring. I didn't know it was theirs when I found it. I thought I could sell it. But now you're thinking that might have been a bad idea. Yeah. The waitress whistled low. And those boys don't mess around. You're damn lucky they didn't search you. I know. You really gonna give it back? Chloe looked at the ring again, at the inscription, at the craftsmanship that spoke of value beyond money. Yeah, she said quietly. I think I have to. The waitress studied her for a moment, then nodded. All right, but you be careful. You want me to call someone, a cop, about, no. The word came out sharper than Chloe intended. No cops. I just need directions. The waitress pulled out a napkin and drew a rough map. 15 miles north then, you'll see a turnoff with a dead tree that looks like a hand. Take that road about 3 miles. Can't miss the place. Got a fence, a gate, usually a couple guys on watch. Thank you. You need a ride. My shift ends in 20 minutes. Chloe shook her head. I'll walk. That's a long walk. I've walked farther. The waitress gave her a look that said she believed it. All right, hun. You take care, and good luck. Chloe left the rest of her $20 bill on the table as a tip, more than the meal cost, but somehow it felt important, and stepped out into the cold morning. The sun was higher now, but it wasn't doing much to warm the desert air. Chloe started walking north, the ring clutched in her fist, her backpack cutting into her shoulders. 15 miles, 3 hours, maybe 4. She could do this. She had to do this. Because for reasons she didn't fully understand, giving the ring back felt more important than survival. Felt more important than the money she so desperately needed. Felt like maybe, just maybe, doing one honest thing might balance out all the dishonest things Roger had forced her to do. The highway stretched out before her, empty and endless. Chloe put one foot in front of the other and tried not to think about what would happen when she reached the clubhouse. Tried not to think about men who valued a ring enough to search a parking lot for hours. Tried not to think about what they might do to a girl who'd lied to them. She just walked. And with every step, the ring in her pocket grew heavier. 2 hours into the walk, Chloe's feet were screaming and her water bottle was empty. The desert sun climbed higher, turning the air from cold to scorching in what felt like minutes. She'd shed her jacket, tied it around her waist, and kept moving. The ring was in her hand now, instead of her pocket. She kept turning it over, reading the inscription again and again. Forever, little brother, ride free. Someone had loved the person who owned this ring. Someone had deeded, and this was what remained. Her thumb traced the skull's eye sockets, the tiny detailed flames carved there. This was art. This was craftsmanship. This was a truck roared past so close she felt the displacement of air, and she stumbled backward off the shoulder. Watch it, you idiot, she screamed at the disappearing taillights. Her heart hammered. She'd been so focused on the ring she'd nearly walked into traffic. Get it together, Chloe. She drank the last warm drops from her water bottle and kept walking. By the time she spotted the dead tree shaped like a hand, the sun was directly overhead, and she was dizzy with heat and dehydration. The tree was exactly what the waitress had described, gnarled branches reaching skyward like skeletal fingers. Chloe turned onto the dirt road and immediately felt exposed. Out here, there was nowhere to hide. No buildings, no cover. Just flat desert and scrub brush in the wavering heat. The road seemed to go on forever. Then she saw the fence. Chain link 10 feet high, topped with razor wire. It stretched in both directions as far as she could see. And ahead a gate. 2 men stood outside it, leaning against motorcycles. Even from a distance, she could see the patches on their vests. Chloe's steps slowed. This was insane. She was walking into a Hells Angels clubhouse to return a ring she'd lied about having. A ring she'd almost pawned. A ring that belonged to a man who looked like he could snap her in half. She could still turn back. They hadn't seen her yet. She could leave the ring on the road, call that number Silas had given her, and, hey, too late, one of the men was walking toward her, hand raised. Chloe's mouth went dry. You lost, he called out. I know, I need to see Silas. The man stopped about 20 feet away. He was younger than the others she'd seen, maybe late 20s, with a baby face that didn't match the hard look in his eyes. Silas doesn't take visitors. I know, but I have something of his, something he lost. The man's expression shifted. Yeah, what's that? Chloe opened her palm, showing him the ring. The change was immediate and terrifying. The man's hand went to his waist, and Chloe realized with a jolt of pure fear that he was reaching for a weapon. Where did you get that? His voice was flat, dangerous. I found it last night in the parking lot where you guys were searching this morning. I didn't know it was his until, please, I'm just trying to return it. Prospect. The second man was jogging over. What's going on? She's got Silas's ring. The second man, older with a thick black beard, stared at her with open suspicion. You're the girl from this morning, the one who said she didn't see anything. Chloe's throat closed. Yes, I'm sorry. I lied. I was scared and I thought I could sell it, but then I saw the inscription and I realized you lied to Silas. Blackbeard's voice could have cut glass. I know, I'm sorry. I'm here to make it right. By bringing stolen property back to the people you stole it from. The younger one, Prospect, laughed, but there was no humor in it. That's real noble. I didn't steal it. I found it. After lying about finding it, that's stealing in my book. Look, I made a mistake. I was hungry and cold and desperate, and I made a bad choice. But I'm here now trying to fix it. So can I please just give this back to Silas? The two men exchanged a look. Search her, Blackbeard said. What? No. You walk onto our property with Silas's ring after lying to his face, you get searched. That's how this works. Prospect moved toward her, and every instinct told Chloe to run. But she'd come this far. She dropped her backpack and raised her arms. The search was quick and professional. Prospect found her ID, the one with her real name, and the foster home address, and handed it to Blackbeard. Chloe Martinez, 17. Blackbeard looked at her. Address says Victorville. What are you doing in Barstow? Running away. From what? Does it matter? It does if you're running from the law. We got enough problems without harboring fugitives. I'm not a fugitive. I left my foster home. That's it. Blackbeard studied her for a long moment, then pulled out a phone and walked a few steps away. She could hear him talking, but couldn't make out the words. Prospect kept his eyes on her. That was a stupid thing you did, he said quietly, lying to Silas. I know. You know what that ring means to him? I read the inscription. His brother gave him that ring the day he got his patch, 37 years ago. Jimmy Cobb was a legend in this club. Died in San Quentin after taking a beef for another brother. That ring is all Silas has left of him. Chloe felt sick. I didn't know. Yeah, well, now you do. Blackbeard came back. Silas says bring her in. The gate swung open and Chloe picked up her backpack with shaking hands. The clubhouse was a long, low building that looked like it had been cobbled together from spare parts and stubbornness. More motorcycles than she could count lined the front. Music thumped from inside. Blackbeard led her to the door and pushed it open. The noise hit her first. Music, voices, laughter. Then the smell: beer, leather, cigarette smoke, motor oil. The room fell silent as she walked in. Every head turned, every conversation stopped. And there at a table in the center of the room sat Silas. He looked up from the map he'd been studying, and his pale eyes locked onto hers. Well, he said quietly, look who decided to show up. Chloe's legs felt like water, but she forced herself to walk forward. The crowd parted for her, 20, maybe 30 bikers, all watching, all silent. She stopped in front of Silas's table. I found your ring, she said, and her voice only shook a little. Last night in the parking lot. I should have told you this morning, but I didn't. I'm sorry, I was wrong. She placed the ring on the table between them. Silas didn't touch it, didn't move, just kept looking at her with those gray-blue eyes that saw too much. Why'd you lie? Because I was hungry and stupid and scared. Scared of what? Men, all men, you, them. She gestured at the room. Everyone. But you came here anyway. Because keeping your ring felt worse than being scared. Someone in the back of the room laughed, but it was cut off by a look from Silas. He picked up the ring, turned it over in his scarred hands, and slipped it back onto his finger. This ring, he said slowly, is worth about $15,000. You know that? Chloe's stomach dropped. $15,000. She'd had $15,000 in her pocket, and I didn't know. But you knew it was worth something. Yes. And you were going to pawn it. Yes. But you didn't. No. Why not? Chloe's throat was tight. Because of what it says inside. Because someone loved whoever gave you that ring, and they were dead now, and that means something. That means more than money. The silence stretched out. Someone coughed. A chair scraped. Then Silas smiled. It wasn't a big smile, barely a curve of his mouth, but it changed his whole face. What's your name, girl? Chloe Martinez. Well, Chloe Martinez, you just did something most people don't have the guts to do. You made a mistake and you owned it. You came into a place that scared you to make something right. He stood up, and even though Chloe knew it was coming, his size still startled her. That takes stones. I did what I had to do. No, Silas's voice was firm. You did what was right. There's a difference. He turned to the room. This girl walked 15 miles in the desert, marred to return something that didn't belong to her. She could have sold it, could have run, could have thrown it in the trash and forgotten about it. But she brought it back. That's the kind of character we respect in this club. A murmur of agreement rippled through the room. Silas pulled out his wallet and counted out bills. I told you there was a reward. Here's $500. Chloe stared at the money. I can't. You can and you will. You earned it. He pressed the bills into her hand. And you're going to sit down and eat something before you pass out. Reaper, get her some water and food. Real food, not bar snacks. Silas, I appreciate this, but I should really sit. It wasn't a request. Chloe sat. The room slowly came back to life around her. Conversations resumed. The music started again. But she was acutely aware that people were still watching her, still assessing. Reaper, the bald man with the scar, brought her a bottle of water and a plate with a burger and fries. Eat, he said, not unkindly. Chloe ate. The burger was greasy and perfect, and she finished it in about 6 bites. Silas sat back down across from her. Where are you headed? Vegas. Running from or running to? Does it matter? It does to me. Chloe took a long drink of water, buying time. But something about Silas made lying feel impossible. Running from my foster home? They treat you bad. Yes. How bad? Chloe looked at her plate. Bad enough that I'd rather sleep in a parking lot than go back. Silas's jaw tightened. They hurt you. He made me do things, deliver packages, meet people, other stuff. She couldn't say it out loud, couldn't give voice to the worst parts. What's his name? Why? Because I'm asking. Something in his tone made her answer. Roger Hendricks, Victorville. Silas pulled out his phone and typed something, sent a message to someone. You got family anywhere? He asked without looking up. No, my mom died when I was 12. No dad on record. No other relatives that wanted me. So you've been in the system since you were 12? Yes. And this Roger, he's your current placement? Was. I'm not going back. Silas pocketed his phone. No, you're not. What? I said you're not going back. Not to him, not to any foster home that thinks it's okay to use kids as drug mules or worse. His voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. We'll figure something out. You don't have to. I know I don't have to. I'm choosing to. You returned something precious to me when you could have taken the easy road. That means you're owed, and the angels always pay their debts. Chloe's eyes burned. She hadn't cried in front of anyone in years, and she wasn't about to start now. Thank you, she managed. Silas nodded. Prospect. The younger man appeared immediately. Yeah, boss. Get Chloe set up in the guest room. Let her shower rest whatever she needs. Got it. Chloe stood up still, clutching the $500. I don't know what to say. Then don't say anything. Silas's expression softened slightly. Just rest. We'll talk more later. The guest room was small but clean. A bed, a dresser, a door that locked from the inside. That last part mattered more than anything. Chloe locked the door, dropped her backpack, and sat on the bed. $500 lay on the nightstand. She counted it 3 times, still not quite believing it was real. There was a knock at the door. Yeah. It's Prospect. Got some clothes for you. Girl who works at the bar left some stuff. Figured it might fit. Chloe unlocked the door and took the bundle of clothes. Thank you. Bathroom's down the hall. Towels in the closet. You need anything else? No, this is more than enough. Prospect nodded and left. The shower was hot and lasted forever, and Chloe stood under the spray until the water ran cold. She scrubbed away 2 days of dirt in fear and exhaustion, watching it spiral down the drain. The clothes Prospect had brought were worn, but clean jeans that were a little big, a t-shirt, a hoodie. She pulled them on and felt almost human again. Back in the room, she lay down on the bed, intending to rest for just a minute. She woke to pounding on her door and voices shouting outside. Need to move now. Get everyone inside. Lock it down. Chloe's heart slammed against her ribs. She grabbed her backpack and ran to the door, unlocking it. The hallway was chaos. Men running, grabbing weapons, shouting orders. What's happening? She asked a woman hurrying past. Cops, and someone tipped them about a fugitive here. The woman, tall, tattooed, maybe 40, grabbed Chloe's arm. You the foster kid? Yes. Then you need to hide, now. Your foster father called the cops. Told them you stole from him and ran. They're coming to pick you up. I didn't steal anything. Doesn't matter what you did or didn't do. What matters is they're 5 minutes out, and if they find you, you're going back to him. Chloe felt the floor tilt. No, I can't. Then come with me. The woman pulled her through the clubhouse to a door she hadn't noticed before. Behind it, stairs led down into darkness. There's a basement, storage mostly. You hide down there, stay quiet, and don't come up until someone comes to get you. Understand? Yes. Go. Chloe went down the stairs. The door closed above her, and she heard a lock click. The basement was pitch black. She felt along the wall until she found a light switch. The single bulb illuminated a space filled with boxes, old furniture, spare motorcycle parts. And in the corner, something that made her blood freeze. Crates, wooden crates with stenciled numbers and warning labels. She'd seen crates like these before. In Roger's garage. These were guns. Chloe backed away from the crates, her mind spinning. She'd walked into a Hells Angels clubhouse. They'd been kind to her, fed her, protected her. But they were criminals. They had to be. Above her, she heard boots on the floor, voices, official-sounding voices. We have a warrant to search the premises. Let me see it. That was Silas. Calm, controlled. We have reason to believe you're harboring a minor fugitive, Chloe Martinez. She's a runaway from Victorville. Don't know anyone by that name. Her foster father says she stole jewelry and cash before running. Says she's been known to hang around motorcycle clubs. Well, officer, as you can see, we're a law-abiding organization. We don't harbor fugitives, and we certainly don't keep company with thieves. Then you won't mind if we look around. I mind plenty, but you got a warrant, so do what you gotta do. Footsteps above her, moving through the rooms, doors opening and closing. Chloe pressed herself into the corner behind a stack of boxes and tried not to breathe. The basement door opened. Light spilled down the stairs. What's down there? A cop's voice. Storage, old parts, nothing interesting. I'll be the judge of that. Footsteps on the stairs. Chloe's hand found something metal in the dark. A pipe. She gripped it knowing it was useless but unable to let go. The cop reached the bottom of the stairs and swept a flashlight around the room. The beam passed right over her hiding spot. Stopped. Came back. Don't move. The cop's hand went to his weapon. Come out where I can see you. Chloe stood up, slowly, hands raised, the pipe clattering to the floor. Chloe Martinez. Yes. You're coming with me. I didn't steal anything. Roger is lying. He's... Save it for the station. Let's go. The cop grabbed her arm and pulled her toward the stairs. They emerged into the main room where 4 more cops stood with hands on weapons, facing down a room full of very angry bikers. Silas stood in the center, and when he saw Chloe being let out, his expression went cold. Where are you taking her? Back to her legal guardian. Her legal guardian is an abusive piece of trash who uses foster kids as drug runners. The cop's expression didn't change. You got proof of that. Working on it. Until you do, she goes back. That's the law. The law, Silas said quietly, is real convenient when it suits you, isn't it? Watch it. Or what? You gonna arrest me for having opinions in my own clubhouse? The tension in the room was explosive. Chloe could feel it building, could see hands drifting toward weapons on both sides. Stop, she said. Her voice was small, but it cut through the standoff. Just stop, I'll go. I don't want anyone getting hurt because of me. Chloe, Silas started. I'll be okay. She tried to sound convincing. It's fine. It wasn't fine. Nothing about this was fine. But she'd spent her whole life watching people get hurt trying to help her. She wouldn't let it happen again. The cop led her outside where 2 cruisers waited. He put her in the back of one, and she watched through the window as they drove away from the clubhouse. Watched Silas, standing in the doorway, his face unreadable. Watched her one chance at safety disappear in the rearview mirror. The cop driving glanced at her in the mirror. Your foster father's real worried about you. Chloe said nothing. Says you've been acting out, getting in with a bad crowd. She still said nothing. Those bikers give you anything drugs money. No. We'll search you at the station anyway. Of course they would, and they'd find $500 she couldn't explain without implicating Silas. Think Chloe. She shifted in her seat, feeling the bills tucked into her bra. If she could just... The driver's radio crackled. Unit 23, what's your 20 plan? Heading south on 58, about 10 miles from Victorville. Copy that. Be advised we've got reports of a situation at your destination address. What kind of situation? Unknown. Fire department en route. The driver's partner swore. That's the Hendricks place. Chloe's heart stopped. What happened? Shut up, the partner snapped. But the radio kept talking. Multiple units responding, possible structure fire, possible shots fired, conflicting reports. The driver hit the gas. They pulled up to Roger's house 15 minutes later, and it was complete chaos. Fire trucks, police cars, and ambulance. The garage was burning, and Roger was being let out in handcuffs. Chloe pressed her face against the cruiser window, trying to make sense of what she was seeing. Roger's garage was engulfed in flames, black smoke billowing into the sky. Two cops had Roger face down on the lawn, his hands cuffed behind his back, and he was screaming something she couldn't hear over the sirens. Stay in the vehicle, the partner cop ordered, but Chloe was already straining to see more. A detective emerged from the house carrying evidence bags. Even from the car, Chloe could see what was inside them, bags of pills, cash, the kind of stuff Roger had always kept hidden in the garage safe. The cop driving killed the engine and got out. His partner followed, leaving Chloe alone in the back seat. She watched through the mesh divider as they approached another officer, one with sergeant stripes. The conversation was brief, hands gesturing toward Roger, toward the house, toward the cruiser where Chloe sat. Then the sergeant looked directly at her. The driver came back and opened her door. Get out. Chloe climbed out on shaking legs. The heat from the fire was intense, even from 50 feet away. Miss Martinez, the sergeant said. His nameplate read Torres. I'm going to ask you some questions, and I need honest answers. Can you do that? Yes, sir. How long have you been living with Roger Hendricks? 14 months. And when did you leave? 2 days ago. Why? Chloe glanced at Roger, still face down on the grass, still screaming. Because he's a drug dealer who forced me to make deliveries and threatened to kill me if I told anyone. Torres' expression didn't change. Can you prove that? I can tell you where he keeps his burner phones. I can tell you the names of 3 people he sells to regularly. I can tell you about the cartel guys who came to the house last month and beat the hell out of him because he shorted them. Now Torres's eyebrows went up. Cartel? Yeah, Mexican guys. One had a tattoo of Santa Muerte on his neck. They spoke Spanish the whole time. Roger told me to stay in my room, but I heard everything. Torres pulled out a notebook. What else did you hear? That Roger owed them $50,000. That they'd give him 2 weeks to come up with it, or they'd make an example of him. That was 3 weeks ago. Why didn't you report this? Chloe laughed, and it came out bitter. To who? The cops. Roger told me he had cops on his payroll. He showed me pictures of himself at a barbecue with police officers. He said if I ever talked, I'd disappear and nobody would look for me because I was just another throwaway foster kid. Torres was quiet for a moment. Were you at the Hells Angels clubhouse earlier today? Yes. Why did I? Because I found a ring that belonged to one of them and I returned it. They pay you for it. They gave me a reward, $500. Where is it now? Chloe hesitated, then reached into her bra and pulled out the folded bills. Here. Torres took them, counted them, and handed them back. That's your money. They gave it to me for returning something valuable. I didn't steal it. Roger says you stole jewelry and $2,000 from him before you ran. Roger's a liar. Can you prove you didn't steal from him? Can he prove I did? Torres almost smiled. Fair point. He turned to one of the other officers. Chen, take her statement. Everything about Hendricks, his operation, his associates. I want names, dates, locations. Wait, Chloe said. What's happening to Roger? He's under arrest. We got an anonymous tip about his operation. When we showed up with a warrant, he tried to burn the evidence. Didn't work out so well for him. Anonymous tip. Chloe's mind immediately went to Silas, to the text he'd sent while she was eating at the clubhouse. "What about me?" she asked. "What about you? Where do I go?" Torres looked at her, and for the first time she saw something like sympathy in his eyes. "That's above my pay grade, kid. Social services will have to figure that out. I'm not going to another foster home. That's not your decision. I'm 17. In 6 months, I age out of the system anyway. Just let me go." "Can't do that." "Why not?" "Because you're a minor and a witness in a federal drug investigation. You need protection." This word federal made her stomach drop. "How bad is this?" "Bad enough that you don't want to be on the street when Roger's friends figure out he got busted." Before Chloe could respond, another car pulled up. Black sedan, tinted windows. Two men got out wearing suits that screamed federal agent. "Sergeant Torres," the older one said. "FBI, will take it from here." Torres didn't look happy about it. "This is my crime scene. And it's our investigation. DEA's been tracking a cartel pipeline through Victorville for 6 months. This is the break we've been waiting for." The agent looked at Chloe. "You're Chloe Martinez." "Yes." "I'm Agent Reeves. This is Agent Park. We need you to come with us." "Where?" "Somewhere safe. You just became a material witness in a case against the Sinaloa cartel. That makes you a target." Chloe's knees went weak. "I don't know anything about the cartel." "You know enough. You saw their faces. You heard conversations. That's more than we've had in months." Reeves gestured toward the sedan. "Let's go." "Wait." The cop who'd driven her here stepped forward. "She's got outstanding questions about her involvement with the motorcycle club." "What involvement?" Reeves asked. "She was found at a Hells Angels clubhouse." "Doing what?" "Returning lost property," Chloe said quickly. "That's all." Reeves looked at her, then at the cop. "Unless you've got evidence she committed a crime, she's coming with us." The cop backed off, clearly unhappy. Chloe got into the back of the sedan, and this time there was no mesh divider, no locked doors. Agent Park drove while Reeves twisted around in the passenger seat to look at her. "You hurt?" he asked. "No." "Hungry?" "No." "You're lying about the hungry part. Park stop at the first drive-through you see." They drove in silence for several minutes before Chloe found her voice. "What happens now?" "Now we get your full statement about everything you know regarding Roger Hendricks and his connections to the Sinaloa cartel. Then we figure out how to keep you alive long enough to testify." "I never said I'd testify." "You don't have to say it. You're a minor, which means we can compel your cooperation." "That's not fair." "Fair," Reeves laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Kid, nothing about your situation is fair. But here's what is true. Roger Hendricks was running drugs for one of the most violent criminal organizations in the world. You lived in his house. You made deliveries for him. Whether you like it or not, you're involved. The only question is whether you help us put these people away or whether you become a loose end they need to tie up." Chloe felt sick. They'd really come after me. These are people who dissolve their enemies in acid. "So yeah, I'd say you're at risk." Park pulled into a McDonald's drive-thru. "What do you want?" "I'm not hungry." "You're getting food anyway," Reeves said. "Quarter pounder fries, Coke. Make it 2, Park. I'm hungry too." While they waited for the food, Chloe stared out the window at normal people doing normal things. A mom with 2 kids, a teenager on his phone, an old man reading a newspaper at one of the outdoor tables. None of them were material witnesses in a federal case. None of them were targets of a Mexican drug cartel. "Here." Reeves handed her a bag. "Eat." She ate because her body demanded it, even though every bite tasted like cardboard. They drove for another hour, finally pulling up to a nondescript motel off Interstate 15. Park went inside to get a room while Reeves stayed with Chloe. "You ever been in witness protection?" she asked. "This isn't witness protection. This is protective custody. There's a difference, which is witness protection is permanent, new name, new life, new everything. Protective custody is temporary. We keep you safe until the trial, then you're free to go." "How long?" "Months, maybe a year." "A year," Chloe's voice cracked. "I can't do a year locked in a motel room." "You can and you will, unless you'd prefer to take your chances with the cartel." Park came back with the key. "Room 214, second floor back of the building." The room was exactly what Chloe expected. Two beds of TV bolted to the dresser, ugly carpet, and the faint smell of industrial cleaner trying to cover up cigarette smoke. Reeves pointed to the bed nearest the bathroom. That's yours. Don't leave this room without one of us. Don't call anyone. Don't contact anyone. Don't even look out of the window too long. You understand? I'm a prisoner. You're protected. There's a difference. Doesn't feel different. Reeves softened slightly. Look, I know this sucks. I know you've been through hell and this is just more hell. But we're trying to keep you alive. Work with us, and in a year you walk away with your life in a clean slate. What clean slate? I'm a 17-year-old foster kid with no family and no future. This doesn't change that. It changes whether you're a living 17-year-old or a dead one. I'd call that significant. He left, locking the door from the outside. Chloe sat on the bed and tried not to scream. Hours passed. Park brought her dinner from Subway. Reeves came back around 9 and set up a laptop. We're going to start your statement, he said. Everything you remember about Hendricks, his operation, and especially anything about the cartel. Names, descriptions, dates, locations. Every detail matters. They worked until midnight. Chloe's voice was hoarse from talking, and her head pounded from trying to remember things she'd actively tried to forget. That's enough for tonight, Reeves finally said. Get some sleep. We'll continue tomorrow. What about Chloe's toothbrush? I don't have anything. Park will get you stuff tomorrow. For tonight, make do. Make do. Story of her life. Chloe lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the sounds of the motel. Doors slamming, cars starting, voices drifting through thin walls. She thought about Silas, about the clubhouse, about the first time in years she'd felt something like safe. She thought about the anonymous tip that had led to Roger's arrest. She thought about owing a debt to a Hell's Angel who'd shown her more kindness in one day than the entire foster system had shown her in 5 years. Somewhere around 3 in the morning, she finally fell asleep. She woke to shouting. Chloe sat up disoriented. Morning light filtered through the cheap curtains. The shouting was coming from outside the room. Need to see her now. Sir, step back or I will arrest you. That voice. She knew that voice. Chloe ran to the door and pressed her ear against it. I don't give a damn about your jurisdiction. That girl returned something precious to me, which means she's under my protection. You don't get to lock her up like a criminal. Silas. Mr. Cobb, Chloe Martinez is in protective custody for her own safety. She's a material witness in a federal investigation. Federal investigation into what? That's classified. Classified. Right. So you're telling me this kid who's been abused and exploited by a foster parent who was running drugs is now being held against her will by the FBI, and I'm supposed to just accept that she's not being held against her will, she's being protected. From who? I can't discuss bullshit. If she's in danger, I have a right to know. She came to my clubhouse for help. That makes her mine to protect. With all due respect, sir, a motorcycle club is not equipped to provide the level of security this situation requires. In a motel room with 2 federal agents, you know how many people I could call who'd breach this room in under 5 minutes? Reeves's voice went cold. Is that a threat? It's a fact. I'm not saying I would. I'm saying if I can see the weaknesses in your security, so can the people actually trying to hurt her. Chloe unlocked the door and pulled it open. Both men turned to look at her. Silas looked tired. He was still wearing the same clothes from yesterday, and there were dark circles under his eyes. You okay? He asked her. I'm fine. You look like hell. Thanks. Reeves stepped between them. Miss Martinez, go back inside. No, the word came out stronger than Chloe expected. I want to talk to him. That's not possible. Why not? Is he a suspect? No, but then I want to talk to him. You said I'm not a prisoner. You said I'm being protected. So let me talk to someone who's actually trying to help me. Reeves and Silas stared at each other for a long moment. 5 minutes, Reeves finally said. In the room, door stays open. I'll be right outside. Silas walked in and Chloe closed the door to a crack, despite Reeves's protest. How did you find me? She asked. I've got friends in low places. Someone saw the FBI take you from Victorville. I made some calls. He looked around the room with obvious disgust. This is how they're protecting you. It's fine. It's not fine. You deserve better than this. I deserve a lot of things. Doesn't mean I get them. Silas pulled out a chair and sat heavily. The tip that led to Hendrix's arrest. That was you, wasn't it? He didn't answer directly. Let's just say sometimes anonymous tips come from concerned citizens who happen to have detailed knowledge of criminal operations. You could get in trouble for that. I've been in trouble before. Besides a piece of trash, like Hendrix, he had it coming. The FBI says I have to testify against Roger, against the cartel people who came to the house. Silas's expression darkened. What cartel? Sinaloa, they said. Jesus Christ, he scrubbed a hand over his face. Kid, that's serious. Those people don't mess around. I know, that's why I'm here. No, you're here because the FBI thinks a motel room and 2 agents is adequate protection against a multi-billion-dollar criminal organization. It's not. What choice do I have? Silas leaned forward. You could come with me. The club can protect you better than the feds ever could. The FBI won't let me go. The FBI doesn't own you. Silas, I'm 17. I'm a ward of the state. They can do whatever they want. Not if you have a legal guardian who says otherwise. Chloe blinked. What? I've got a lawyer, good one, and she's already filing paperwork to become your emergency guardian. We can fight this. Why would you do that? Because you did right by me when you didn't have to. Because I've got a daughter who'd be about your age if she'd lived, and I like to think someone would have helped her if she needed it. Because you deserve better than being a pawn in some federal case. Tears burned in Chloe's eyes. Your daughter. Died when she was 9. Cancer. Long time ago. His voice was rough. Point is, you remind me of her. Smart, brave, stubborn as hell, and I'll be damned if I let the system chew you up and spit you out. The door opened fully. Reeves stood there. Time's up. I'm not done talking to her. Yeah, you are. Mr. Cobb, if you don't leave voluntarily, I will have you arrested for obstruction. Silas stood slowly. You do what you gotta do, agent. But know this, that girl in there has more people looking out for her than you think. You want to keep her safe, you better do it right. Because if anything happens to her, there's going to be hell to pay. Is that another threat? It's a promise. Silas left and Reeves slammed the door behind him. Let me be very clear, he said to Chloe. You are not to have any further contact with Silas Cobb or any member of the Hells Angels. They are a criminal organization and associating with them will jeopardize this case. They've been nicer to me than you have. Nice doesn't keep you alive. Following our protocols does. Your protocols have me locked in a motel room with no clothes, no phone, and no idea what's happening to my life. Your life is being saved. Show some gratitude. The words hit like a slap. Chloe turned away from him. Get out. Excuse me. You said I'm not a prisoner, so I'm telling you to get out of my room. Now, Reeves left, but she heard him take up position right outside the door. She was a prisoner, no matter what they called it. The rest of the day crawled by. Park brought her clothes from Target, generic jeans, t-shirts, underwear, all in approximately the right sizes. She showered and changed and felt slightly more human. Reeves came back that evening with more questions. They went through Roger's operation again, this time focusing on the cartel connection. Every detail she could remember about the men who'd come to the house. Their faces, their voices, their vehicles. The one with the Santa Muerte tattoo, Reeves said. You're sure about that detail? Positive it was on his neck right side just below his ear. Really detailed. I remember because I'd never seen anything like it before. Reeves and Park exchanged a look. What? Chloe asked. That matches the description of a known enforcer. Goes by Flacco. If he was at Hendrix's house, this is bigger than we thought. How much bigger? Big enough that you're probably going to be in protective custody longer than we initially estimated. Chloe's heart sank. How much longer? Hard to say. Could be 18 months, maybe 2 years. 2 years, I'll be almost 20 by then. Better 20 and alive than 17 and dead. That night, Chloe lay in bed and tried to imagine 2 years of this. 2 years of motel rooms, in federal agents, in depositions and trials. 2 years of looking over her shoulder. 2 years of being defined by what had been done to her instead of who she could become. She couldn't do it. She wouldn't do it. Somewhere around midnight, she made a decision. The next morning when Park went to get breakfast and Reeves was in the bathroom, Chloe took her chance. She grabbed the bag of clothes, shoved her feet into the shoes Park had bought her, and slipped out the door. The parking lot was empty. She ran. She'd made it 3 blocks before she heard the shouting behind her. Martinez, stop. She didn't stop. She ran harder, cutting through alleys behind buildings anywhere that might lose them. She'd forgotten they had cars. The black sedan cut her off at the next intersection. Reeves jumped out furious. What the hell do you think you're doing? I can't do this. I can't spend 2 years locked up. You don't have a choice. There's always a choice, not one that keeps you alive. A motorcycle engine roared from somewhere nearby, then another, then several more. Reeves heard it too. His hand went to his weapon. 6 motorcycles came around the corner and formed a line between Chloe and the FBI sedan. Silas sat on the lead bike. He looked at Chloe, then at Reeves. The girl wants to leave, he said calmly. You gonna stop her? She's in federal protective custody, against her will, which makes it kidnapping, not protection. That's not how this works. Then explain how it works. Because from where I'm standing, you've got a minor locked in a motel room, isolated from everyone, being forced to cooperate with an investigation that puts her life at risk. That about sum it up. More agents were arriving now. Park pulled up in another car. 3 more sedans came from different directions. But more motorcycles arrived too. 10, 20, 30. The street was filling with Hell's Angels. This is going to get ugly, Reeves said quietly. Doesn't have to. Silas's voice was calm. Let her go. She doesn't want your protection. She wants her freedom. If she walks away, she's on her own. We can't protect her. Good thing she doesn't need you to. Chloe stood in the middle of the street, caught between 2 worlds, and realized something important. For the first time in her life, she got to choose. Chloe looked at Reeves, then at Silas, then back at Reeves. The weight of the decision pressed down on her shoulders like a physical thing. If I go with you, she said to Reeves, how long before I testify? Could be a year, maybe more. These cases take time. And after I testify, you're free to go. We'll help you get set up somewhere new, but after that, you're on your own. So either way, I'm on my own. Reeves didn't answer. Chloe turned to Silas. And if I go with you, your family, we protect family. His voice was steady, certain. But I won't lie to you, kid. The cartel might still come looking. Being with us doesn't make you invisible. It just means you won't face them alone. The angels have enemies, Reeves interjected. You go with them, you inherit those enemies on top of the ones you already have. Everywhere I go, I inherit someone else's problems, Chloe said quietly. At least with them, I get to choose. She walked towards Silas. Reeves moved to intercept her, but 4 bikers immediately blocked his path. The air crackled with tension. Don't do this, Martinez, Reeves said. You walk away from federal protection, you're signing your own death warrant. I've been signing those since I was 12 years old. I'm used to it. She reached Silas's bike and climbed on behind him. Last chance, Reeves called out. Chloe wrapped her arms around Silas's waist and said nothing. Silas kicked the bike to life. You made your choice, Agent. Live with it. The motorcycles pulled out in formation, engines roaring, leaving the FBI agents standing in the street. Chloe pressed her face against Silas's back and tried not to think about whether she'd just made the biggest mistake of her life. They rode for 20 minutes before pulling into a truck stop. Silas killed the engine and turned to look at her. You sure about this? No, but I'm sure about not spending 2 years locked in a room. Fair enough. He pulled out his phone. We need to move fast. The feds are going to be all over this. They'll get warrants, surveillance, the works. We need to get you somewhere they can't touch you. We're a clubhouse for now, but we're gonna have to relocate you soon. Maybe Arizona, maybe further. I don't want to run anymore. Then we make a stand. But that means you need to understand what you're getting into. The club will protect you, but in return, you live by our rules. You don't talk to cops. You don't share club business. You don't bring heat down on the family. Can you do that? Yes. I mean it, Chloe. This isn't like foster care where you can just take off if you don't like it. Once you're in, you're in. The angels don't abandon family, but we also don't tolerate betrayal. You understand? The weight of it settled over her. She was trading one form of control for another, but at least this time she was choosing it. I understand. Good. Silas made a call. Reaper, it's me. Get everyone back to the clubhouse. We're coming in hot. And call Maggie. Tell her we need her lawyer skills like yesterday. They arrived at the clubhouse to find it transformed. The casual atmosphere from before was gone, replaced by organized chaos. Men were checking weapons, making calls, setting up what looked like a command center. A woman in her 50s with short gray hair and sharp eyes approached immediately. This her. Yeah, Chloe, this is Maggie. She's our lawyer. Former prosecutor, actually, Maggie said, extending her hand, which means I know exactly how the feds think. Sit down. We need to talk. They went into a back office where Maggie pulled out a recording device. Tell me everything. And I mean everything. Roger Hendricks, the cartel, the FBI, all of it. Chloe talked for over an hour. Maggie took notes, asked pointed questions, and occasionally swore under her breath. Okay, she said when Chloe finished. Here's where we stand. Legally, you're still a minor in state custody. The FBI can argue they're acting in your best interest by providing protective custody. However, I can file for emergency guardianship on Silas's behalf, arguing that federal custody is unnecessarily restrictive and potentially harmful to your mental health. Will it work? Silas asked. Maybe. Judge could go either way, but it'll buy us time. Maggie turned to Chloe. The bigger problem is the cartel. If they think you can identify this Flacco person, they'll come for you regardless of who's protecting you. So what do I do? We have two options. One, you cooperate fully with the FBI. Testify, help them build their case, and hope they put enough cartel members away that the rest lose interest in you. Two, you disappear completely. New name, new identity, new life. The club helps you vanish. Witness protection without the feds, Chloe said. Exactly. But it means leaving everything behind, no contact with anyone from your old life. Ever. The door burst open. Reaper stood there, breathing hard. We got a problem. Everyone followed him to the main room where someone had pulled up security camera footage on a laptop. The timestamp showed it was from 2 hours ago, right after Chloe had left the motel. The footage showed a black SUV pulling into the motel parking lot. 3 men got out, all wearing casual clothes but moving with military precision. They went straight to Chloe's room. Who are they? Silas demanded. Not FBI, Maggie said. Look at how they move. That's cartel. Chloe's blood turned to ice. They found me that fast. Probably had someone watching the FBI, Reaper said. Roger must have talked, told them there was a witness who could ID Flacco. The footage showed the men kicking in the door. Reeves appeared from somewhere, off-screen, weapon drawn. There was a brief exchange too far away to hear, then the 3 men retreated to their SUV and drove away. They know she's gone, Silas said, which means they're looking for her. How would they even know where to start? Chloe asked. They'll start with people you know, places you've been. Maggie's face was grim. The clubhouse just became the most obvious target. As if on cue, Silas's phone rang. He looked at the screen and frowned. It's Reeves. He put it on speaker. Yeah. Silas listened to me very carefully. Reeves's voice was tight. 3 cartel enforcers just tried to breach our protective custody location. They're looking for the girl. If she's with you, you need to hand her over right now. So you can lock her in another motel room and wait for them to try again. So we can move her to a secure federal facility where they can't touch her. Like the secure federal facility they just breached. Yeah, that inspires confidence. This is bigger than your ego, Silas. These people will kill her. They will kill anyone protecting her. And they will burn down your clubhouse to get to her. Let them try. Are you insane? This is the Sinaloa cartel. They have resources you can't imagine. Money, weapons, people. You're one motorcycle club. You can't win this fight. Maybe not. But I can make it so expensive they decide she's not worth it. That's not how they operate. They make examples out of people who cross them. You're painting a target on every member of your club. Silas looked around the room. Men were watching him, waiting. Anyone here not willing to ride this out? Silence. Anyone want to hand her over to the feds? More silence. Then I guess we're committed. He spoke into the phone. Thanks for the warning, Agent. We'll take it from here. Silas, he hung up. Maggie pinched the bridge of her nose. You know this is probably suicide, right? Probably, but she came back when she didn't have to. She could have sold my brother's ring and disappeared. Instead, she walked 15 miles through the desert to do the right thing. I'm not going to abandon her now. You might be the dumbest smart man I've ever met, Maggie said, but she was already typing on her phone. I'm calling in some favors. We need intel on cartel movements, safe houses, extraction routes. If we're doing this, we do it right. Over the next hour, the clubhouse turned into a fortress. Weapons appeared from hidden caches. Security cameras were checked and doubled. Watches were assigned. Plans were made. Chloe sat in the corner watching it all with a growing sense of horror and disbelief. These people were preparing for war. Because of her. Hey, a woman about 30 sat down next to her. She had blonde hair pulled back in a ponytail and kind eyes. I'm Sarah. I tend bar here. Hi. You doing okay? Define okay. Sarah smiled. Fair point. Look, I know this is overwhelming, but you should know something. These guys, they don't do anything halfway. If they say they're gonna protect you, they will. Even if it costs them everything. That's what I'm afraid of. Don't be. We've been through worse. 3 years ago, a rival club tried to muscle in on our territory. They shot up. The clubhouse burned down 2 of our businesses, sent 3 of our brothers to the hospital. You know what we did? What? We went to war and we won. Because when the angels commit to something, we don't back down. Ever. People died in that war, didn't they? Sarah's smile faded. Yeah, 2 of ours, 7 of theirs. But the ones who survived learned not to mess with us. Same thing's gonna happen here. The cartel will come, they'll test us, and they'll learn that you're not worth the price we're willing to make them pay. You make it sound so simple. It's not simple. It's brutal and ugly, and people are probably gonna get hurt. But it's also family, and family fights for each other. Silas called everyone together in the main room. All right, listen up. Here's the situation. Chloe is now under club protection. That means she's family. Anyone comes for her, they come for all of us. Understood. A chorus of agreement. Reaper, I want armed watches at all entrances, 24/7. 3-hour shifts, no exceptions. Prospect, you're coordinating with our chapters in Arizona and Nevada. I want safe houses identified and ready. Maggie, keep working your contacts. I want to know what the cartel knows and when they know it. What about me? Chloe asked. You stay here. Don't go anywhere without an escort. Don't talk to anyone we haven't cleared. And if something goes sideways, you do exactly what you're told when you're told. No questions, no hesitation. Your life might depend on it. The reality of her situation was sinking in deeper with every passing minute. She traded a motel room for a different kind of prison. One with more freedom maybe, but also more danger. That night, Sarah showed her to a different room than before. This one had a deadbolt and a window that looked out over the parking lot. Lock the door, Sarah said. If you hear anything weird, you call this number. She handed Chloe a phone with a single contact saved. It goes directly to the watch commander. Someone will be there in 30 seconds. Do you really think they'll come here tonight? Probably not tonight. They'll want to scout, first figure out our defenses, plan their approach. But they'll come eventually. It's just a matter of when. Chloe sat on the bed after Sarah left, holding the phone and trying not to think about what eventually meant. She must have dozed off because she woke to voices outside her door. Angry voices. She crept to the door and pressed her ear against it. Telling you I saw the same SUV drive past 3 times in the last hour. You sure it's the same one? Black Escalade, tinted windows, 2 antennas. Yeah, I'm sure. Where is it now? Parked at the gas station across the street, 2 guys inside just sitting there. They're watching us. Should we go talk to them? No, we don't make the first move. Let them think we don't know they're there. But double the watch and tell everyone to stay sharp. Chloe's heart hammered. They were here, not inside the compound, but close, watching, waiting. She climbed back into bed but didn't sleep. Every sound made her jump. Every shadow seemed threatening. Morning came with no incident, but the tension in the clubhouse was palpable. Men moved with purpose, speaking in low voices, checking weapons. Silas found her at breakfast. How'd you sleep? I didn't. Yeah, me neither. He sat down across from her. The good news is they're being cautious. That gives us time to plan. What's the bad news? They're being cautious because they're professionals. When they do move, it'll be fast and coordinated. So what do? We wait and we prepare. Maggie's working on the guardianship paperwork. If we can get a judge to sign off, it'll make it harder for the FBI to reclaim you. Won't stop the cartel, but it's one less problem. Silas, why are you doing this? I mean, really, it can't just be because I returned your ring. He was quiet for a long moment. You know how many people in this world do the right thing when it costs them something? Not many. Most people take the easy road, the safe road, but you walked 15 miles through the desert because you thought it was right. That kind of character is rare, and it's worth protecting, even if it gets people killed. We're all gonna die someday, kid. Might as well die for something that matters. Before Chloe could respond, Reaper burst into the room. Silas, we got company. Everyone moved at once. Silas grabbed Chloe's arm and pulled her toward the back of the building. What's happening? She asked. FBI raid. 4 vehicles, at least a dozen agents. They're raiding you because of me. They're raiding us because they think we're harboring a material witness, which we are. But they're going to have a hell of a time proving it. He shoved her into a storage closet. Stay here. Don't make a sound. No matter what you hear, you stay put until I come get you. Clear. Clear. The door closed, plunging her into darkness. She heard boots on the floor above her, voices shouting. FBI search warrant. More boots, more voices, the sound of doors being kicked open, the furniture being moved, aggressive questions being barked. Where is she? Where's who? That was Silas playing dumb. Chloe Martinez. We know she's here. Haven't seen her. Maybe she went to Vegas like she planned. We have witnesses who saw her leave with you yesterday. Saw her get on my bike. Didn't see where she got off. You're obstructing a federal investigation. I'm exercising my right not to self-incriminate. You got a warrant search all you want. You won't find her. They searched for over an hour. Chloe could hear them moving through the building, getting closer to her hiding spot, then moving away. Finally, Reeves's voice cut through the noise. All right, enough. She's not here. Fall back. Sir, we should keep looking. I said fall back. We're done here. More boots, moving toward the exits this time. Engines starting, vehicles pulling away. Chloe waited, barely breathing, until the door opened and Silas stood there. You can come out now. She emerged on shaky legs. They're gone. For now, but they'll be back, and they'll get more creative next time. He led her back to the main room where several bikers were surveying the damage from the search. Furniture, overturned contents of cabinets dumped on the floor, holes punched in walls. They were thorough, Maggie said dryly. She was holding her phone. But I've got good news. Judge signing the emergency guardianship order. As of 30 minutes ago, Silas is your legal guardian. How did you? I know people. And I built a case arguing that federal custody was causing you psychological harm and that you have a right to choose your own guardian. Judge agreed. It won't stop the FBI from pursuing you as a witness, but it does mean they can't just snatch you off the street anymore. They'll find a way around it, Silas said. Probably, but it buys us time. And time is what we need right now. The phone Chloe had been given suddenly buzzed. Everyone froze. She pulled it out. A text from an unknown number. We know where you are. We know who's protecting you. Walk away now and you live. Stay with them and everyone dies. You have 24 hours to decide. Her hands were shaking so badly she almost dropped the phone. Silas took it from her, read the message, and showed it to Maggie. That's not the FBI, Maggie said. That's the cartel. How did they get this number? Chloe's voice came out as a whisper. Doesn't matter. What matters is they're trying to scare you into giving up. It's working. Silas crouched down in front of her. Listen to Mom. This is a tactic. They want you isolated and afraid because that makes you easier to control. But you're not alone anymore. You've got 30 armed bikers willing to go to war for you. Don't let them take that away with the text message. Maybe I should go. Maybe if I leave, they'll leave you alone. They won't. Once they know you can identify their people, you're a liability they need to eliminate. Leaving the club's protection doesn't save anyone. It just makes their job easier. So what do? You stay, you trust us, and you let us handle this. Another text came through. This one was a photo. It showed the outside of the clubhouse taken from across the street. The timestamp was from 5 minutes ago. They're still watching, Reaper said quietly. Silas stood up, his expression hardening. All right, change of plans. We can't stay here. They know the location. They have got the place under surveillance, and it's only a matter of time before they make a move. Where do we go? Someone asked. Arizona. We've got a safe house outside Flagstaff. Remote defensible off the grid. We leave tonight. Tonight, Chloe repeated. We wait any longer, they might have time to set up roadblocks or ambushes. We move fast, and we move now. He started issuing orders. Reaper, get 3 vehicles ready. SUVs, not bikes. We need armor and cargo space. Maggie, you're coming with us. We might need legal help. Everyone else stays here and makes it look like business as usual. I don't want them knowing we've relocated. The clubhouse exploded into activity. Bags were packed, weapons were loaded, vehicles were pulled around to the back entrance where they couldn't be seen from the street. Chloe stood in the middle of it all, feeling like she was watching a movie of someone else's life. Sarah appeared with a duffel bag. Here, closed toiletries, some snacks, for the road. Should last you a few days. Thank you. You're family now. This is what family does. 2 hours later, Chloe was in the back seat of an SUV sandwiched between Reaper and another biker named Tank, who lived up to his name. Silas drove with Maggie in the passenger seat. 2 more vehicles followed behind them. They pulled out just after midnight, headlights off until they were clear of the compound. The highway stretched ahead dark and empty. Chloe watched the lights of Barstow disappear in the rearview mirror and wondered if she'd ever see it again. Wondered if she'd live long enough to see anything again. You okay back there? Silas asked. I'm scared. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. Just don't let it paralyze you. They drove in silence for an hour. Then Maggie's phone rang. She answered, listened, and her face went pale. When she asked, how bad? She hung up and turned to Silas. The clubhouse is on fire. Someone threw Molotov cocktails through the windows. 3 brothers got out. One's in critical condition. Chloe felt like she'd been punched. Oh, God. They're sending a message, Silas said, his voice tight with controlled rage. They want us to know they can reach us anywhere. We should go back, Chloe said. I should turn myself into the FBI. This is my fault. This is the cartel's fault. Don't you dare take responsibility for what those animals do. But people are getting hurt because of me. People are getting hurt because evil men exist in this world. You didn't ask for any of this. You're a victim here, too. Some victim. I just got your clubhouse burned down. It's a building. Buildings can be rebuilt. Brothers can't be replaced, but they knew the risks when they signed up for this life. Every single one of them would make the same choice again. Chloe leaned her head against the window and tried not to cry. She'd spent so long surviving that she'd forgotten what it felt like to have people care whether she lived or died. Now people were burning because they cared. She wasn't sure that was better. Somewhere around 3 in the morning, they stopped at a rest area. Silas pulled into a spot away from the lights and killed the engine. Bathroom break, 5 minutes. Stay together, stay alert. Chloe walked to the bathroom with Maggie while the men formed a perimeter. The fluorescent lights were harsh after hours of darkness. How are you holding up? Maggie asked. I don't know, I feel numb. That's normal. You've been through more trauma in 3 days than most people experience in a lifetime. Your brain is protecting itself. I wish it would stop protecting me and let me feel something other than fear. Fear is useful. Anger is better. You should be angry about what these people have done to you. I am angry. I'm furious. But what good does it do? And I'm still running, still hiding, still letting other people get hurt for me. You're 17 years old. You're supposed to be worried about prom dates and college applications, not cartel hit squads. None of this is your fault. Everyone keeps saying that, but it doesn't change the fact that people are suffering because I exist. Before Maggie could respond, gunfire erupted outside. Maggie grabbed Chloe and shoved her into a bathroom stall. Stay down! The gunfire was deafening even through the concrete walls. Pop, pop, pop! Then the deeper boom of what had to be shotguns. Shouting, breaking glass, tires squealing. Chloe pressed herself into the corner of the stall, hands over her ears, trying to make herself as small as possible. Then silence. Worse than the gunfire, because silence meant someone had won and she didn't know who. The bathroom door crashed open. Chloe, Maggie, Silas's voice. Maggie pulled Chloe out of the stall. We're here, we're okay. Silas was bleeding from a cut on his forehead. We need to move. Now, they had people waiting. They ran back to the vehicles. Tank was on the ground, Reaper applying pressure to a wound in his shoulder. Two men Chloe didn't know lay motionless near a shot-up sedan. Are they? Chloe started. Don't look, Silas ordered. Get in the truck. She got in. Maggie climbed in after her. Reaper helped Tank into the second vehicle while another biker took the wheel. They peeled out of the rest area, leaving the bodies behind. Chloe stared at the blood on Silas's face. You're hurt. Scratch, I'm fine. But his hands were shaking on the wheel. How did they know we'd stop there? Maggie asked. Either they've been following us since we left Barstow, or they had people positioned at every rest stop between there and Arizona. Either way, they've got more resources than we thought. Tank needs a hospital, Reaper's voice came through the radio. Can't risk it. Hospitals mean paperwork and questions. We've got a doctor in Kingman. 2 hours. He can hold out that long. He better. They drove through this darkness at speeds that made Chloe's stomach clench. Every pair of headlights in the rearview mirror looked like a threat. Every shadow could be hiding an ambush. Somewhere around 5 in the morning, they pulled off the highway into a dirt road that barely deserved the name. The SUV bounced and rattled over rocks and ruts for what felt like forever. Finally, a house appeared, single-story lights on despite the hour. A man came out as they pulled up, 60s gray beard wearing surgical scrubs. Silas, been a while. Wish it was under better circumstances, Doc. Got a man with a shoulder wound, through and through, but he's lost blood. Doc was already moving toward the second vehicle. Bring him inside. You got a name for him. Tank. Tank. All right, Tank. Let's get you fixed up. They carried Tank inside while Chloe waited in the truck with Maggie. Who is that? Chloe asked. Retired Army medic. Does off-the-books medical work for people who can't go to hospitals. He's good at his job and he doesn't ask questions. How many people do you know like that? Enough to survive in a world that doesn't always play by the rules. 20 minutes later, Doc came back out. He'll live. Stitched him up, gave him antibiotics and pain meds. He needs rest and no stress on that shoulder for at least 2 weeks. Can he travel? Not recommended, but I know you well enough to know you're going to do it anyway. Just keep the wound clean and change the dressing twice a day. They got back on the road an hour later with Tank stretched across the binus seat of one vehicle, pumped full of painkillers and barely conscious. The sun was coming up when they finally reached the safe house outside Flagstaff. It was more compound than house, a main building surrounded by smaller structures, all enclosed by a fence that had definitely seen better days. A woman came out to meet them, 50s Native American with eyes that missed nothing. Silas. Marie, thanks for having us. You bring trouble to my door, you better have a damn good reason. I do. He gestured to Chloe. This is Chloe. She's under club protection. Marie studied Chloe for a long moment. She's a child. She's 17, and she's got the Sinaloa cartel hunting her. Jesus, Silas, you don't do anything small, do you? But Marie was already moving toward the house. Bring your wounded inside. I've got medical supplies and beds. Everyone else can bunk in the outbuildings. The main house was sparse but clean. Marie showed them to rooms while Doc tended to Tank's wound again. Chloe ended up in a small bedroom with a single bed and a window that looked out over miles of empty desert. Maggie took the room next to hers. Get some sleep, Silas said from the doorway. We've got people on watch. You're safe here. For how long? Long as it takes. He left and Chloe lay down fully clothed, certain she wouldn't sleep. She was out in minutes. She woke to shouting. Again, the sun was high, which meant she'd slept 4 hours. The shouting was coming from the main room. Chloe crept to the door and opened it a crack. Silas was arguing with someone on speakerphone. The voice was familiar. Reeves, last chance, Silas. You hand her over now voluntarily and we can make this easy. Easy for who? You, the cartel just hit us at a rest stop last night. Shot one of my men. Where was your protection then? We didn't know you were on the move. If you'd coordinated with us. Coordinated, you raided my clubhouse. You treated us like criminals. Now you want cooperation. I want to keep that girl alive, and she's got a better chance with us than with you. Your track record says otherwise. Silas, listen to me. We've got intel that the cartel has put a $250,000 bounty on her head. Every Sicario and gangbanger in the Southwest is looking for her. You can't protect her from that. Watch me. This isn't about your pride. This is about her life. Her life is my responsibility now. I'm her legal guardian in case you forgot. A guardianship order doesn't mean shit when she's dead. Be realistic. I am being realistic. Realistic is knowing that you couldn't keep her safe in protective custody. Realistic is knowing that the only reason she's still alive is because my people are willing to die for her. Can you say the same? Silence on the other end. That's what I thought, Silas said. Stay away from us, agent. Next time you come near her, it won't be a conversation. He hung up. Chloe opened the door fully. $250,000, Silas turned. You should be sleeping. $250,000. For me, that's insane. It's also a problem. That kind of money brings out everyone from professionals to desperate amateurs. We need to be even more careful now. Maybe Reeves is right. Maybe I should... No! Silas's voice was firm. We've been over this. You're safer here. Am I... Or am I just dragging more people into danger? Tank got shot because of me. Your clubhouse burned because of me. How many more people have to get hurt before you realize I'm not worth it? Silas crossed the room and gripped her shoulders. Listen to me very carefully. You are worth it. Not because of what you did or didn't do. Not because you returned my ring or because you're some kind of saint, but because you're a human being who deserves to live without fear. And I'll be damned if I let these animals take that away from you. Tears burned in Chloe's eyes. I don't know how to let people help me. Then learn, because we're helping whether you like it or not. Marie appeared in the doorway. Hate to interrupt, but we've got movement on the south perimeter. Everyone moved at once. Weapons appeared. People took positions at windows. Chloe found herself pushed into a back room with Maggie. Here we go again, Maggie muttered. They waited. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. Then Silas called out, Stand down, it's friendlies. Chloe emerged to see 3 motorcycles pulling up to the house. The riders were wearing Hell's Angels patches from different chapters. Reinforcements, Silas explained. Called them last night. We need more bodies if we're going to hold this position. One of the new arrivals was a woman, tall, muscular, with a shaved head and tattoos covering both arms. She walked straight to Chloe. You the kid everyone's dying for. Ah, yes. Name's Razor. Phoenix chapter. Heard you've got some stones on you. I don't know about that. You walked into a Hell's Angels clubhouse to return stolen property. That takes guts or stupidity. I'm betting guts. She turned to Silas. Where do you need me? Southwatch. We've had movement out there. Could be scouts, could be animals, but I want eyes on it. The new arrivals dispersed to their assignments, and the safe house suddenly felt more like a military installation. Chloe helped Marie prepare food for everyone. It felt good to do something useful instead of being a burden. You know how to shoot? Marie asked while chopping vegetables. No. You should learn. Might save your life. I don't want to kill anyone. Neither do I. But wanting and having to are different things. Marie set down her knife. I was 15 when men came to my reservation looking for my brother. He'd witnessed something he shouldn't have. They burned our house, killed my parents, and would have killed me too if I hadn't learned how to defend myself. What happened to your brother? He testified. The men went to prison, and I learned that sometimes the only way to protect the people you love is to be willing to fight. That afternoon, Razor took Chloe out behind the house with a pistol and some targets. First rule, Razor said, a gun is a tool. It doesn't make you powerful. It doesn't make you safe. It's just a tool, and like any tool, you need to know how to use it properly. She spent 2 hours teaching Chloe the basics: stance, grip, sight picture, breathing, trigger control. Chloe missed the target more often than she hit it, but by the end, she was at least keeping the shots on the paper. Not bad for a beginner, Razor said. Practice every day, and you might actually survive this. That night, they all ate together around a large table Marie had set up. For a brief moment, it almost felt normal, like a family dinner instead of a group of people hiding from assassins. Then Silas's phone rang. He looked at the screen and frowned. It's a number I don't recognize. He answered on speaker. Yeah, Silas Cobb. The voice was accented, smooth, dangerous. My name is not important. What is important is that you have something that belongs to me. Everyone at the table went silent. I don't know what you're talking about, Silas said. The girl, Chloe Martinez. She saw faces she should not have seen. She can identify people who prefer to remain unidentified. This is a problem. That's your problem, not mine. No, Mr. Cobb. It is now very much your problem. Because you have chosen to protect her, you have made yourself an enemy of my organization. This was unwise. Threats don't scare me. These are not threats. These are facts. You have until midnight tomorrow to deliver the girl to a location we will provide. If you do this, we will forget about the inconvenience you have caused us. If you do not, we will kill everyone in that house and burn it to the ground. Big talk for someone who won't give me his name. Names are for people who matter. You will receive coordinates at noon tomorrow. The girl comes alone, unarmed. If we see any of your people, she dies immediately. If she does not arrive by midnight, everyone dies. These are your options. The line went dead. Chloe felt like she couldn't breathe. I have to go. I have to turn myself in. No, Silas said. You heard him. Everyone dies if I don't. I can't let that happen. You go to them, you die. Painfully, they're not offering you a deal. They're offering you a choice between dying alone or watching everyone around you die first. Then what do we do? Maggie was already typing on her laptop. We call the FBI. This is exactly what they're trained for. Hostage negotiation tactical response. No feds, Silas said. The second the FBI gets involved, the cartel kills her and disappears. We handle this ourselves. How? Chloe demanded. How do we handle this? You heard what he said. You're outgunned, outnumbered, and out of time. Maybe, but we're not out of options. Silas stood up. Reaper contact every chapter within 500 miles. I want every brother who can ride here by tomorrow morning. Razor, you know people in the area. Ex-military security contractors, anyone who owes you a favor. Call them in. Marie, I need to know every approach to this property, every position that could be used for an ambush, every advantage we can leverage. Silas, this is suicide, Maggie said quietly. Probably, but I've been facing death my whole life. What's one more time? Chloe stood up. Stop. Just stop. I won't let you do this. I won't let you die for me. That's not your choice to make. The hell it isn't. It's my life, my decision, and I'm telling you, I'm begging you, let me go, please. I'll take my chances with the cartel. Maybe they'll be quick. Maybe they'll let me go if I cooperate. Maybe nothing, Silas interrupted. You're not going. End of discussion. You can't force me to stay. Watch me. They stared at each other across the table, and Chloe realized with a sinking feeling that he meant it. He would physically restrain her if necessary. I hate you right now, she whispered. I can live with that, as long as you live, period. The next 12 hours were a blur of preparation. More bikers arrived throughout the night, riding in from Nevada, New Mexico, even California. By dawn, there were over 50 motorcycles parked around the compound. Chloe watched from her window as weapons were distributed, positions were assigned, and plans were made. She felt like she was watching a war being organized around her. Around 10 in the morning, Maggie knocked on her door. Can I come in? Yeah. Maggie sat on the bed. How are you doing? I feel like I'm watching people prepare to die for me. How do you think I'm doing? I think you're being too hard on yourself. These people chose this. Nobody forced them. Silas forced them. He called in every favor, pulled in every brother. They're here because of him, not me. They're here because the club protects its own. You're family now, whether you like it or not. I've been in foster families. This is different. How? Because foster families got paid to take care of me. They did it for money, not because they cared. She gestured toward the window. This isn't mine, boom. People don't do this. People don't risk everything for a stranger. You're not a stranger anymore. You're a Hell's Angel. Maybe not officially, but in every way that matters. At noon exactly, Silas's phone buzzed with a text. He read it aloud. County Road 47 mile marker 23. Midnight. She comes alone or everyone dies. Razor pulled up a map. That's 30 miles from here. Middle of nowhere. Perfect spot for an ambush. They'll have people positioned all around it, another biker said. Snipers on the high ground, vehicles blocking escape routes. They're not taking any chances. Neither are we, Silas said. Here's what we're going to do. He laid out a plan that was either brilliant or insane, possibly both. They would send a convoy toward the meeting point, making it obvious they were coming. But the convoy would be a distraction. A smaller team would approach from a different direction, scout the area, and identify cartel positions. Then at exactly midnight, instead of delivering Chloe, they would hit every cartel position simultaneously. You're talking about a coordinated assault on a drug cartel, Maggie said. That's not protection. That's warfare. They brought the war to us. We're just finishing it. And if it goes wrong, if someone makes a mistake, if they have more people than we think, then we die fighting instead of hiding. I'll take that trade. Chloe stood up. I won't. I won't let you do this. Good thing it's not up to you. Silas, Chloe enough? You want to help. Stay here. Stay safe. Let us do what we do best, which is what? Get killed. Survive. We've been surviving in a hostile world for 50 years. We know what we're doing. At 6 that evening, the convoy left. 20 motorcycles and 3 SUVs, all heavily armed, all heading toward the meeting point. Chloe watched them go from her window stomach, churning with anxiety. Marie sat with her. You should eat something. I can't. Fear takes energy. You need to keep your strength up. For what? To watch everyone die on my behalf. To survive what comes next. Because this isn't over, child. Whatever happens tonight, there will be more coming. There's always more coming. The hours crawled by. 7, 8, 9, up by 10. At 11, Maggie's phone rang. She listened, her face growing pale, and hung up. What? Chloe demanded. The FBI just arrested 15 cartel members at various locations around Arizona. Apparently, someone tipped them off about a coordinated hit planned for tonight. Silas, Chloe breathed. He played them, used the meeting as bait, got the cartel to commit resources, then fed the locations to the FBI. They just swept up most of the hit squad. But not all of them. No, there are still people at the meeting point. The FBI is en route, but they won't get there until after midnight. At 11:30, gunfire erupted in the distance. Not close, but close enough to hear. Chloe ran to the window. She could see muzzle flashes on the horizon, tiny sparks of light in the darkness. The battle lasted 20 minutes, then silence. Chloe's phone buzzed. Silas had given her one earlier with a single number programmed in. A text from him, "It's done, coming home." She sank to the floor, shaking with relief. They came back an hour later, fewer vehicles than had left, some damaged, some people injured. But they came back. Silas found her in her room. He had blood on his shirt and a look of exhausted satisfaction on his face. You're insane, she said. Probably, but we're alive. And the cartel is down 15 men, plus another 8 we took off the board tonight. They'll think twice before coming after you again. You can't know that. I know that we just cost them a lot of money and manpower. I know that the FBI is now actively targeting their operation in this region. And I know that you're no longer an easy target. Sometimes that's enough to make them move on to easier prey. Chloe wanted to believe him, wanted to believe this nightmare was over. But she'd learned a long time ago that nightmares don't end just because you want them to. Over the next week, things quieted down. No more attacks, no more threats. The FBI made several more arrests, including Roger's cartel contacts. The case against the Sinaloa operation in Arizona was apparently coming together nicely. Agent Reeves called Silas one last time. You won, he said, his tone somewhere between admiration and frustration. The cartel's backed off. Our sources say they've decided she's too expensive to pursue. Good. But this isn't over. She's still a material witness. She'll still have to testify when this goes to trial. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Silas, she's safe. She's protected. She's living something resembling a normal life. That's more than you could have given her. Reeves was quiet for a moment. Maybe you're right, but if anything happens to her, it won't. I keep my promises, Agent. Unlike some people. He hung up. 3 months later, Chloe stood in front of a judge in a courtroom in Phoenix. She testified about Roger, about the deliveries she'd been forced to make, about the cartel members who'd come to the house. Silas sat in the gallery along with a dozen other angels, a show of support, a reminder that she wasn't alone. The testimony took 2 days. Roger was sentenced to 25 years, 3 cartel members got life sentences. And Chloe walked out of that courthouse with Silas's arm around her shoulders, knowing she'd finally done something that mattered. 6 months after that, on her 18th birthday, Silas threw her a party at the rebuilt clubhouse in Barstow. The whole club turned out, plus Marie, plus Doc, plus people she'd met along the way who'd become something like family. Tank gave her a knife with a custom handle, for protection, and because you earned it. Razor gave her a leather jacket with a patch on the back, property of nobody. So everyone knows you don't belong to anyone but yourself, she explained. Maggie gave her college application forms. You've got brains, kid. Use them. I've already written you a recommendation letter. And Silas gave her his brother's ring. I can't take this, Chloe said, shocked. You already did when you walked 15 miles to return it, when you chose honor over survival. That's what this ring represents. And you've earned the right to carry that with you. He pressed it into her hand. Jimmy would have liked you, would have been proud to know someone like you was carrying his memory. Chloe looked at the ring at the inscription she'd memorized months ago and felt tears streaming down her face. Forever, little brother. Ride free. She'd spent 17 years being nobody, being invisible, being disposable, but standing there surrounded by people who'd fought for her, bled for her, chosen her. When she'd never been chosen before, she realized something fundamental had changed. She wasn't nobody anymore. She was family, and family meant everything.